Welcome back. We continue our study in Ezekiel, and now we'll be going into the next three chapters that we're going into chapter 26, 27, and 28. Just as we studied earlier, mentioned that we're going to have the phases of punishment, judgment, and recovery. Punishment to us and our fathers, judgment upon all our enemies, and recovery of us with the new kingdom. Those three phases will continue. But there's another portion, another judgment that's just as important. It is the judgment on the arch enemy of all enemies, Satan. Is it the judgment upon him and his angels? Now, I have often listened to tapes or replays of Khalid Abdul Muhammad and even some of Elijah Muhammad. Again, I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in Islam, but I'm looking at these brothers as inspiration and expressing the anger and rage that I felt being of the Hebrews in Babylon. And oftentimes, Elijah Muhammad, well, I heard him say it a couple of times, but Malcolm quoted him a couple of times. But Khalid actually got in trouble with Farrakhan for saying it. Hey, pick me up. Thank you for the $10. Greatly appreciate that, brother. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said it plainly. The white man is the devil. That's what he would say. I don't know if you've ever heard him say it, but I got whole files of collections on Khalid Abdul Muhammad, and he would say the white man is the devil. Okay. Now, of course, I must say I do not agree with that. And just like there are things said by Khalid Muhammad, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, to me, great men, but not on the same level of truth that you and I are in these last days, because they didn't really trust fully in this book as I do. And so you're going to disagree, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy listening. I disagree that the white man is the devil, and I'll tell you why. As we look at the Bible, and first let's take a look at some scriptures. And let's start in Revelation chapter 12. Now, just as the Messiah, Yahushua, is a being, like he is an individual being, the devil is also an individual being. Okay? He's an individual being. Now, as an individual being, like all individual beings created by the Most High, he is a prime example, along with Adam and Eve, that being created by the Most High does not take away the power of choice. Now, our enemies that hate us definitely are under the definite spirit and control of Satan. Our enemies that exploit us, our enemies that have murdered us and raped our women, our enemies that have done all of these things are under the control of Satan, but they are not him himself. Does that make sense? So you can be under the control, as many were in the time of the Messiah, demon, devil possessed, but that doesn't mean you're him himself. You understand? So yes, all white people are not devils. Let's put it even better than that. All people of European descent are not under the control of Satan. Okay? Many are, and they show themselves in how they deal with us who are the chosen people. But there are people of European descent, and will be, that will come under the spirit of the Most High and will be his servants and will be our friends and our brothers and sisters. And there are even existing right now. And there'll be more. Okay. So to say all the white man is the devil is a very broad statement that's incorrect. And as I mentioned, the devil, the Asatan, and Adam and Eve are examples of the power of choice that is given to all of us of created beings from the Most High. Okay, again, Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 9. Revelation chapter 12, from verse 1 to verse 9. And again, we're going to have three witnesses with this. Okay, Revelation chapter 12 from verse 1 to verse 9, because this is what we're studying in Ezekiel chapter 26. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Now, the woman is a entity that is symbolized by somebody that's controlling that woman, is really in our case, it's a nation or a religious body. In Revelation, there are two women, this one and the great whore of Revelation 17. This woman gives herself away. She's clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars. The number 12 gives it away, tells you who that is. That's the woman that represents us, Yah's chosen people. Okay. Now, verse 2. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. So she was having a baby. Israel was having a baby. Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So Israel was having a baby, and this dragon wanted to destroy the baby as soon as it was born, indicating that the dragon is an enemy of both the woman and the baby. Do we understand that so far? The dragon wants to kill this child as soon as it's born. So just understand now that the dragon is an enemy of the child and an enemy of the woman. Okay. Verse 5. And she brought forth a man child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne. So she had a child. Obviously, the dragon was not able to kill the child or the woman, because the child was caught up unto the Most High and to his throne, and the child destiny was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That is to rule the Gentiles with a rod of iron, a rod of correction, a rod of breaking. And it says that in more than one place. Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was a war in heaven. Mikael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So this dragon created a war against Mikael and his angels. So obviously, there's not only an anger and a hatred to the woman, not only to her child, but even to heaven itself. The dragon went and started a war. Now, the question would be, why would something created by the Most High rebel in such a way against him? What is the reason that this created being came against the creator? Why would he use his freedom to fight the creator? Okay, let's look. This goes back to Isaiah. We know Isaiah chapter 14. That's right. Isaiah chapter 14. And it will give us the reason. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12, from verses 12 down to verse 15. Isaiah 14 from verse 12 to verse 15. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nation? So this dragon was named Lucifer. Okay, this dragon was named Lucifer. And apparently when he was created, he was so beautiful, he is called the son of the morning. And okay, he's called the son of the morning. Brightness, freshness, beauty. Okay. But he's going to be cut down to the ground. Verse 13, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne, above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to the hell, to the sides of the pit, which is a grave, which is what Revelation 20 is talking about. So this enemy chose to fight against heaven because he wanted to be like the Most High. He used his freedom of choice to decide he was going to take over the Creator's kingdom. I know as crazy as that sounds, but it just told us that. Okay, so the word is telling us this enemy looked to take control of the Creator's kingdom. And that's what caused the fight in heaven. That's what caused him to want to kill Messiah and Israel. Okay. And that's why people will make a mistake in saying the white man is the devil, when really the devil is the devil. And sometimes he uses our enemies, whatever color they be, against us to hurt us. Now it's quite obvious that the people of Europe are very responsible for much of our physical and social and problems that we're having because of their hatred to us. Yes, those are controlled by the devil, but they have a leader who is Lucifer. Do we understand this so far? They have a leader. Mikael is another name for the Messiah. That's his name before he was born of the woman. He existed prior to being born of the woman. The Bible says he's from of old, from everlasting, the Bible tells us. Okay, Micah chapter 5, verse 2. So he has existed, but before he came through that womb of the woman as a baby, he existed as Mikael. And so he is the one that's destined to rule all nations, given by the Father. He comes from Israel. He's born from Israel, which is why we say he's our cousin, right? He's our cousin. He's bloodline and bloodline. He's bone and flesh of us. He's our cousin. And so he's destined to rule all nations. Therefore, because of the conflict existing here between Lucifer, who wants to rule everything, and Messiah, who's going to rule everything, there's a fight. There's a fight. Again, why would any created being choose to go against their creator? Because we're not robots. We have the power of choice. And Eve, of course, demonstrated that in the garden. Why did she go against her creator? Why did she go against her husband, whose rib brought her forth? Why did she do that? Again, this is Genesis 3:6. Genesis 3:6. First, let's start at verse 4. Genesis 3:4-6. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. He lying to her, but it's her choice whether to believe him. For Yahweh doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And why did she go against the Creator? Verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So as she would say later, she was beguiled. She was tricked by the enemy. Okay. And the Most High made provision for those of us that are tricked by the enemy. He made provision for those of us that weren't tricked, that just made a bad choice from the enemy or from our own desire. It's called repentance. He put it under the blood of the Messiah, and he showed it to them because he provided covering for them. Verse 21 of Genesis chapter 3. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh Most High make coats of skins and clothe them. Remember, they were naked, and then the light left, and they saw they was naked, and they were scared and embarrassed. And the Most High came through and gave them the promise of his word. Again, I'm going to bring forth a seed of the woman, and it's going to crush the serpent's head. And because of that, he covered them. I'm going to cover you with skins of a slain animal. See, he covered them with skins, clothed them. Skins are from an animal. He covered them with skins from a dead animal, a sacrificed animal. Covered them. So he made a way for them to get back to the tree of life. And that same way is for us to get to the tree of life. Now, there's a figurehead that represents our Satan in Ezekiel. Okay, so you have first our sin, our punishment, and then you have the punishment and judgment on the nations around us, our enemies, and then you're going to have eventually a redemption, a covering of us. But before that, or when that happens, there's another enemy, our Satan, that's going to be dealt with. As the Messiah said, as we showed in the word, he was first cast to the earth, and then he's going to go to the pit. And then, of course, Revelation 20 said that the dragon was put, and it called it what? The bottomless what? Pit. You're going to go down to the sides of the pit. That's the grave. Okay. Now, Ezekiel chapter 26. Ezekiel chapter 26. And boy, this Ezekiel is powerful. The journey that we make going through this is powerful. Praise the Most High for his word. His promises are sure, and we praise the Most High for that. Okay. Ezekiel 26, beginning at verse 1 and going from verse 1, 2, and 3. Now, the figurehead is called Tyrus in Ezekiel. Who is Tyrus? Tyrus is a king that was on the coastal side, the eastern side of the western side, of Israel. And he was a coastal king, a powerful, rich king that controlled commerce throughout the earth. Watch. Ezekiel 26, beginning at verse 1 and going to verse 3. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the first day of the month, that the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, because that Tyrus has said against Jerusalem, Aha, she is broken. That was the gates of the people. She is turned unto me. I shall be replenished. Now she is laid waste. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against thee, as the sea causes the waves to come up. Now, wait. What was Tyrus doing? It had overcome Israel. It said, now she is turned to me. What is the devil saying? What is he saying? They enslaved now. We got them knocked down now. They are now turned to me. Isn't that right? See? It's the same thing. He said, aha, she is broken. That was the gates of the people. She is broken. That was the chosen people. She's off the land. She's in chains. We got them locked down. She's coming to me now. Isn't that what he accused Job of, if you recall? He said, does Job serve you for nothing? You got a hedge about him. Take away that hedge, and he'll curse you to your face. Let me at him. That's what he said. And here, Tyrus is saying, they're done now. The land is desolate now. They're going to come to me. See? Okay. And I want you to notice what it says in verse 3. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against thee, as the sea, his waves, as the sea causes his waves to come up. We see that in another place. Watch. Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17. This is the great whore's judgment. Remember that in the beginning of Revelation 17, the angel told John, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. Okay, one of the angels, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. Now, at the end of chapter 17, watch this verse. At the end of chapter 17, let's start at verse 16. At the end of chapter, well, let's start at verse 15 because he mentioned what waves covering the sea. So let's start Revelation 17:15, and let's read down to verse 18. This is the end of the whore right here. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, you see. So you see this again. This is Tyrus. He's telling Tyrus, the waves of the sea are going to come upon you and destroy you. That's the Gentile nations, right? Okay, now go back to Ezekiel chapter 26. We praise the Most High for his word. You see, brothers and sisters, as we continue to read his word, as we continue to seek the Most High Spirit, he brings the word together. We no longer seeking like Gentiles. There's Old Testament, New Testament. It's two different gods. We are Christians. No, that's not. No. It's one word. It's one God. And it's one people. Praise the Most High. Ezekiel chapter 26, verse 4. And they shall destroy the walls of Tyrus and break down her towers. I will also scrape her dust from her and make her like the top of a rock. And it shall be a place for the spreading of nets in the midst of the sea. For I have spoken it, said the Most High Yahweh. And it shall become a spoil to the nation, and her daughters which are in the field shall be slain by the sword, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar, a king of kings from the north, with horses and chariots, with horsemen and companies and much people. Now, wait, if Tyrus is representing the devil, and Ezekiel says, I'm going to bring you a king that's a king of kings from the north. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Who does Nebuchadnezzar represent? That's the question. Who does Nebuchadnezzar represent? Because you got Tyrus, and he says, I'm going to bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar. That's right. It's the Most High. That's right. Remember what it said in Isaiah. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will be like the Most High. See, there it is. Okay. Verse 8. He shall slay with the sword thy daughters in the field. He shall make a fort against thee and cast a mount against thee and lift up the buckler against thee. Verse 9. And he shall set engines of war against thy walls, and his axes shall break down thy towers. Verse 10, by reason of the abundance of his horses, their dust shall cover thee. Thy walls shall shake at the noise of the horsemen and of the wheels and of the chariots when he shall enter into thy gates, as men enter into a city wherein is made a breach. Now, remember what the Messiah said. Upon this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. That means it's going to be a breach in the gates of hell. His church, of course, people start looking at it like it's some sort of Christian building. But no, he means his assembly. I'm going to build a nation. I'm going to build my assembly. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against us. We're coming. In other words, we're going to be attacking. We're going to take it. And that's what's coming next. See, that's why it says here is wherein is made a breach. Okay, verse 11. With the hooves of his horses shall he tread down all thy streets. He shall slay thy people with the sword, and thy strong garrison shall go down to the ground. Verse 12. And they shall make a spoil of thy riches, and make a prey of thy merchandise. And they shall break down thy walls, and destroy thy pleasant houses. And they shall lay thy stones and thy timber and thy dust in the midst of the water. And I will cause the noise of thy songs to cease, and the sound of thy harp shall be no more heard. And I will make thee like a top of a rock, and thou shalt be a place to spread nets upon. Thou shalt be built no more, for I, Yahweh, have spoken it, saith the Most High Yahweh. Whenever he says that, he's just reminding you, there is no way this is not going to happen. There is no way this is not going to happen. Why? Because he spoke it. He spoke it. He has spoken it. Therefore, it's surely coming. Okay? Verse 15. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh to Tyrus, shall not the isles shake at the sound of thy fall, when the wounded cry, when the slaughter is made in the midst of thee? Then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones, and lay away their robes, and put off their broidered garments. They shall clothe themselves with trembling. They shall sit upon the ground, and shall tremble at every moment, and be astonished at thee. It's like it said in Isaiah. Is this the man that made kingdoms to tremble? Verse 17. And they shall take up a lamentation for thee, and say to thee, how art thou destroyed? Thou hast inhabited of seafaring men, the renowned city, which was strong in the sea, she and her inhabitants, which caused their terror to be on all that haunted. Remember what Revelation 17 says? That the merchants of the earth shall weep and wail because their merchandise is no good anymore. They shall wail with mourning and throw up dust. That's what you're seeing right here. Verse 18. Now shall the isles tremble in the day of thy fall. Yea, the isles that are in the sea shall be troubled at thy departure. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, when I shall make thee a desolate city, like the cities that are not inhabited, when I shall bring up the deep upon thee, and great waters shall cover thee, when I shall bring thee down with them that descend into the pit, with the people of old time, and shall set thee very low parts of the earth in places desolate of old, with them that go down to the pit. Notice he kept mentioning the pit. See, that's consistent. That's consistent with Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Revelation. The pit. See? And the people of old time shall set thee low parts of the earth in places desolate of old, with them that go down to the pit, that thou be not inhabited. And I shall set glory, in the land of the living. And I will make thee a terror, and thou shalt be no more. Though thou be sought to, yet thou shalt never be found again. Saith the Most High Yahweh. They shall see what the Bible say? Evil shall not come up a second time. There'll be no more curse. It will not come up a second time. Okay. Yeah, praise the Most High. Let's at least begin chapter 27. I honestly, let's begin a little bit. Let's go to chapter 27. Maybe we'll finish it. Let's go to chapter 27. Okay. Because it's a continuation of chapter 26, but chapter 28 is how it's the end of it all. Chapter 28. See, it brings the whole thing down. You're going to see some things. This is Exodus chapter 27. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, now, son of man, thou son of man, take up a lamentation for Tyrus, and say unto Tyrus, O thou that art situate in the entry of the sea, which art a merchant of the people for many isles. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, O Tyrus, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty. Thy borders are in the midst of the seas. Thy builders have perfected thy beauty. They have made all thy shipboards fir trees of Sinir. They have taken cedars from Lebanon to make masts for thee. Of the oaks of Bashan have they made thine oars. In company of Asherites have Asherites have made thy benches of ivory and brought out the isles of Kittim. Fine linen is broidered work, with broidered work from Egypt was that which thou spreadest forth to be thy sail. Blue and purple from the isles of Alisha, which was that which covered thee. So the finest of everything, the finest of everything. And you can see that today. Asatan's people, which are a reflection of himself, do they not have the finest of everything? Do they not have the private jets, the prettiest women, the baddest clothes, the baddest houses, everything? And he's telling them, it ain't going to be for long. Okay, verse 8. The inhabitants of Zidon and Arvad were thy mariners. Thy wise men, O Tyrus, that were in thee were thy pilots. The ancients of Gabal, the wise men thereof, were in thee, thy caulkers. All the ships of the sea with their mariners were in thee to occupy thy merchandise. They of Persia and Lud and of Put were in thine army, thy men of war. They hanged on the shield and helmet in thee. They set forth thy comeliness. The men of Arvad with thine army were upon thy walls round about, and the Gamadim were in thy towers. They hang their shields upon thy walls round about. They have made thy beauty perfect. Tarshish was thy merchant by reason of the multitude of all kind of riches, with silver, iron, tin, lead. They traded in thy fairs. Yavan, Tubal, Meshech, they were thy merchants. Yavan, Tubal, Meshech. Where you heard them before? Chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Tubal, Meshech, and Yavan. That's European right there. Those are children of Yafet. Okay? They were thy merchants. They traded the persons of men. They traded the persons of men and vessels of brass in thy market. Woo! They of the house of Togarma, another Yafet, traded in thy fairs with horses and horsemen and mules. The men of Dedan were thy merchants. Many isles were the merchants of thy hand. They brought thee for a present horns of ivory and ebony. Syria was thy merchant by reason of the multitude of the wares of thy making. They occupied in thy fairs with emeralds, purple, embroidered work, and fine linen, and coral, and agate. They controlled everyone. Tyrus control all business on the earth. They bring up our people. Judah and the land of Israel, they were thy merchants. They traded in thy market wheat and manith and panag and honey and oil and balm. Damascus was thy merchant in the multitude of the wares of thy making, for a multitude of all riches, and wine of Helbon and white wool. Dan also and Yavan going to and fro occupied in thy fairs. Bright iron, cassia, calamus were in thy market. Dedan was thy merchant in precious clothes and for chariots. Arabia and all the princes of Kedar, they occupied with thee in lambs and rams and goats. And these were they thy merchants, brothers and sisters. Does not the merchants of the earth cover everybody? See? Everybody is in the earth in the same Babylonian cesspool. All of us are. Okay? All of us are. Let's see, verse 22. The merchants of Sheba and Raamah, they were thy merchants. They occupied in thy fairs, with chief of all spices, and with all precious stones and gold, Haran, and Canaan, and Eden, the merchants of Sheba, Ashur, Kilmad, were thy merchants. These were thy merchants in all sorts of things, in blue clothes, and broidered work, and chests of rich apparel bound with cords, and made with cedar upon thy merchandise. The ships of Tarshish did sing of thee in thy market, and thou wast replenished and made very glorious in the midst of the seas. Thy rower, the seas, of course, being the Gentiles, thy rowers have brought thee into great waters. The east wind hath broken thee in the midst of the seas. Thy riches and thy fairs, thy merchandise, thy mariners, thy pilots, thy caulkers, thy occupiers of thy merchandise, and all thy men of war that are in thee. And in thee all the company which is in the midst of thee shall fall in the midst of the seas in the day of thy ruin. Suburbs shall shake at the sound of the cry of thy pilots. And all that handle the oar, the mariners and the pilots of the sea shall come down from their ships. They shall stand upon the land and shall cause their voice to be heard against thee, and shall cry bitterly, and shall cast up dust upon their heads. They shall wallow themselves in ashes. We saw that again in Revelation chapter 18. And they shall make themselves utterly boil for thee, and gird them with sackcloth, and they shall weep for thee with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. And in their wailing they shall take up a lamentation for thee, and lament over thee, saying, what city is like Tyrus, like the destroyed in the midst of the sea? And when thy wares went forth out of the seas, thou fillest many people, thou didst enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of thy riches and of thy merchandise. In the time when thou shalt be broken by the seas in the depths of the waters, thy merchandise and all thy company in the midst of thee shall fall. All the inhabitants of the isle shall be astonished at thee, and their king shall be sore afraid. They shall be troubled in their countenance. The merchants of the people shall hiss at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be anymore. Okay, I'm going to save chapter 28 for the next time. You got to read it, though. You're going to see the whole story here. Okay. When you now understand that the Asatan is really the king of this earth, that's not the Most High, and he's got all of the people following him. That's why Revelation said he deceiveth the whole world. That's why it says all the earth wanders after the beast. The earth is filled with the spirit of Asatan, because, tell me if I'm lying, it's filled with deception. Deception is a lie. Okay? Nothing is as it appears. Everything you see in the news is a lie. Nothing is exactly as it appears, and everything's being used to set up the watcher, to set up all of us that are watching, so that we believe everything we see instead of the word of the Most High. We need to believe the word. The word is telling us what's going on and what's about to happen. That's what all this is about. See, we got punished. Our enemies getting judgment. Our Satan's getting judgment. And they go into the pit, the grave. They won't exist anymore. See, there'll be no more sea, no more death, no more sea is representing no more Gentile, no more death. See, because it's all going to go away. And the Bible says the earth will be filled with the spirit of the Most High as the waters cover the sea. See, praise the Most High. So I'm gonna save chapter 28 when we come back. It's gonna be a little shortened version. We got 2 chapters, but I want to take 28 by itself, because that's gonna be the culmination of this stuff. And then chapter 20. There's a lot of more. That's all I'm gonna say. There's a lot of more. Read the book of Ezekiel. There's a lot of more. See, when you read Ezekiel, it breaks up all of that false Christian doctrine. It destroys it. And that's why the Christians have to tell you, oh, that's done away with. Oh, that's fulfilled already. They have to tell you that, because it'll awaken you to who you are, the children of the man-child. You are the children of the man-child. And they know it. That's why they hate us so much. They don't hate us because they like Malcolm said, he said their conscience, they got a collective guilty conscience. Yes, they do, but they hate us because their father, our Satan, is scared of us and hates us. And like he was trying to devour the child, he hates the mother also. He said he tried to kill the woman and destroy the remnant of her seed. That's us. We're the remnant of the seed of Israel, brothers and sisters. And this is a war, but we are assured we're going to win. We're going to win. We're not going to have all the weapons and bombs and guns and bullets of the devil's people, but we don't need that. We got the Most High. We got the Creator. We got the victory. Praise the Most High. We just got to hang on. Hang on to the Creator. Hang on to His Word. Hang on to His Spirit, and you'll be all right. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, Hebrew, Israelite family.